big buzz all around, like IoT, vehicle telematics, digital twin. Everyone has some idea of what these things are. What I'm more into is I would like to share my experience on the two projects that we have successfully delivered in, when I was associated with Tata Group. One was on RO plant, and other was, asset monitoring and fuel management system. So I'll come to that later. So yeah, let's start with this. So we'll cover like what is IoT, when do we say device are like smart devices, then what does IoT mean for the business. That is something that I feel that you guys should really understand, so that even if someone asks you in the interview or something, how do you put it in perspective, or how do you put the projects in the perspective, the way the business looks at the IoT. Then we'll cover, as I told you, the case studies. One is on RO plant and MFM. Then we'll quickly snip in, just touch base that digital twin and the future that is going to hold us. Okay, so let's start with the big question, like what is IoT? So over to the audience, team, anyone. Hello.
Sir, it is a network of objects basically.
It's a
It's a network of physical objects, unlike that of
correct.
human beings. Like,
Correct, Tanmay, you are correct. I think so. I am losing you, but yeah, what you mentioned, it is a physical. Uh, you know, what you mentioned is correct. Like it's a network of physical options. Uh, Let me take a step back. Can you guys just Yogendra, just
Hello.
muted me. Yeah. So Yogendra, can you just give me a brief about the student, so that I can address it properly?
Sir, students are from mechatronics background as well as from automobile background.
Okay.
They are from first year, second year, and actually all the years are there, and they don't have that much experience about IoT as of now.
Okay, and that is fair. That is what exactly I wanted to understand.
Yeah.
So like Tanmay mentioned, IoT is nothing but the physical object which are connected. Now, uh, okay, let's first do a history session, a quick history session. Won't go in much details. Let's go back in say 95s, or when you guys were just born, or when you were started. So at that time, if you see, the only thing that was connected to the internet, okay, was your laptop, desktop, and mobile phones. Correct? Can you can do I make means, do you guys remember of that era? Hello.
Yes, sir.
But now,
Yeah.
yeah. But now, if we see, when we are talking of Internet of Things, like we are actually connecting everything with an internet. Now, why there is a need of doing that? Like, why do you feel that, you know, uh, to collect a bulb, basically? Like, if you see over here, when I say things, okay, what I mean to say is, I'm trying, you know, bringing a smartness in each and every object. Okay, so how do I do that? Is more of connecting it with internet. So what we see is, we are somehow embedding, like somehow making all the devices that are in and around us, we are taking them on to the the IoT or the cloud, or connecting it to the internet. So both these all words are like, the feel is the same of all these words. Okay, so an interesting fact just it clicked to me that per person currently we have at least 6 point, on an average we have 6.6 devices which are connected to internet. Can you guys just help me note down, like, which are those six personalized devices that we have? Six to
uh,
seven.
Sir,
can you just
smartphone, desktop computer, laptop, then I think these are the three that come to mind first, and then maybe
Smartwatch,
come again?
smartwatches,
Correct. Perfect. Anything? Smartwatch, mobile phone.
sir, our car, like car GPS and stuff,
Won't go it. I will say vehicle, basically. We each
vehicle.
one of our personal vehicle, correct? So yeah, that has got a potential. So on an average, if you look at, the right from the internet when it came into picture, and when it started connecting to the devices, okay, the number of devices that a person holds is increased tremendously, correct? So we'll come to that part as well. Now, when I say why, big question, why are we connecting devices, correct? And when do we say a device is a smart device? Or let me come to a question before that. Can you guys tell me what are smart devices? Devices, different smart devices. Anyone? What are the different smart devices that we know, that you guys know?
It's a smartphone or a Fitbit, like which we use while working out or something.
Okay. Anything else? Someone else try.
vehicles, smart vehicles,
Correct. Then just
Smart TV.
smart TV. Correct. Then you said vehicles, Fitbit. Anything more?
Alexa.
Alexa is more on AI part. Okay. Okay. We'll take Alexa as well. Instead of Alexa, I will say voice controlled assistant. Anything. Okay. We'll talk about Alexa afterwards. Anything which has word smart associated with this. Lot of buzz going on. Correct. Come to a bigger picture, guys. You have smart TV.
Sir,
What else?
a smart robot or a smart machine, basically.
Smart machine. But yeah, what kind of machines we are talking about? For
Uh,
example, washing machine, we may say the very good example. What other devices?
Sir, we have smart refrigerators these days.
Correct.
Smart ovens.
Correct. Then
Smart lawn mower and floor cleaner and sweeper.
perfect.
So nowadays we have smart switches as well.
Correct. Smart switches. Okay. Okay. This is something more inside the house. Can you just move a bit? Come out from your house and go into the colony or a area and give me a bigger picture.
automated streetlights,
Perfect.
Biometric scanners.
Just automatic street light, smart
Biometric scanners.
biometric scanners. Okay, perfect. More on a bigger level again.
Smart surveillance systems.
Correct.
a smart factory.
Cyber security systems.
Won't go that far, dear. Come back to cyber uh, smart factory. Yes, that is a component. The cyber security is one of the inherent property that one IoT system should have. So won't go there. Okay, smart factory. Then what does government will do? You heard this word about smart cities something? Hello?
yes sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Correct. So now this is exactly what is Internet of Things, correct? What we are doing is we are adding smartness to our devices, okay? And starting right from your washing machine, refrigerator, vehicle, Fitbit, TV, oven, then lawn, switches, coming to the factory, street lights, and then to the cities. Wow, that's a big set of smart devices, correct? So anything, now let's come to this. What does a device, when do you call it a device as a smart device? what does that smart word mean?
Sir, we don't need human intervention for everything for that device to run or operate.
Speak up. Yeah. What do you feel the smart? When do you say
Abilities.
Functions like if a smart device will give you predictive text or email spam filters. So it can filter data for you, or it can give you recommendation based on your preferences. So that is something which an ordinary device won't do.
recommendation systems? Okay, noted down. Next. Okay, how do you make a device a smart device? The best example that was taken was TV, correct? We started with TV and all. So, what is the difference between TV and smart TV? Basic difference.
It is connected to internet.
Okay, it's connected to internet. What does it achieve by doing that?
Live stream.
It can do more than what a normal TV is expected to do, just to project a picture.
Exactly, correct. But what is that? Uh, okay, I'm looking for more specific answer when we say internet. Who answered that question for me? I'm not seeing the people, but yeah, who answered that one?
Sir, it is open to communication, not just through the satellite, but through the internet. So you can use it on a, the base widens for you to use a television set, because you get access to all the content through the internet and not just what the satellite provides you.
Correct.
In
Okay,
short, it is
agreed.
connected to other devices.
Yeah, yeah, Ankur, you are also correct. Okay, then how does a smart, how, okay, TV, you guys are speaking from a perspective of a user, okay, from a user experience point of view. What I want you to guys to do is, now from the user perspective, come to a development perspective. Like, say, the refrigerator. When do you say a refrigerator is smart? Or take any example, oven. When do you say oven is smart? How will you?
Sir, when it adapts to different conditions differently, like for example, maybe a refrigerator, if depending on the food you are storing in it, then the temperature requirement for different kinds of foods will be different. So the refrigerator might automatically, change its temperature, or let's say if there's an smart air conditioner, then depending on the temperature of the room, you don't need to set a particular temperature. It automatically changes the temperature according to what should be the ideal temperature, something like that.
Correct, correct. You guys are there, but okay. Let me give a baseline to what we are just saying. So when we say smart devices, okay, whenever a device, it can, whenever a thing, I will use the right word, whenever a thing has a power to, what we say, has a power to, you know, uh, whenever a device has a power to, what we say, to
To communicate with us, I guess.
the right words are to harness the power, harness the information using communication, to harness the power of communication. Yeah, that will be the right word. Whenever a device can, harness the power of communication, that time we say the device is a smart device. And now, when I say the word harness the power of communication, what I mean is it should be aware of the content that it is generating, okay, or how it is computing. So for anything that needs to be smart devices, or that needs to be onboarded as an IoT devices, okay, it should have three basic things. One is the connectivity, second one is the content awareness, and autonomous computing. What does it mean? So yeah, this sentence is also interesting, which says that anything can be a part of an IoT. Any device can be a part of it. Let it be your chair as well. So all we need to do is add a sensor, a tiny bit of computing capability, and a network connectivity. Okay, so this is just a random image that I took it, but I like this sentence a lot. So anything, right from your chair, mobile phone, a pen, pencil, anything that we have, okay, if we can connect it with sensor. So why I'm connecting it with sensor? So that it gets aware of what data it is collecting. I have to collect some data, correct? I have to create some data. Then basically to harness the power of connectivity, when I say to harness the power of connectivity, it means that it should have that thing to first collect the data, make the corrective actions of it, and have a computation power. So now how do we do it is simple. You take a sensor, you take a Raspberry Pi, you take an Arduino, okay, that will bringing this computing capabilities, and then you connect it to the internet. So that's all. So any project which you guys have or working on, if you look, it will be divided into these three parts. So basically IoT is divided into like more of a three parts segment, where one segment was good of sensors and actuators, which are like the end part of it. Then we have a computing part of it, which is like a microcontroller or a processor, and then it is communicating. uh, One analogy apart from the topic that we are discussing is, I really enjoy, or like to see in the nature. So I will just compare our human body to something similar. Okay, like our human body, we also have the same set of structure the way it is. We have sensors, correct? We have like 5 sensors: nose, ear, we can smell, touch, feel, correct? So those are nothing but the sensor part. So in the environment that we are living in, there are some parameters. Say temperature, I can see what is happening. So to capture this parameter, okay, I'm using my sensory organs, which are like 5 sensory organs that are given to me. The 5 sensory organs are connected via a nervous system to my brain. My brain is nothing but a microprocessor, or a, yeah, in the smart device, I would say it's equivalent to a microprocessor, which processes the data that is coming from the sensor. Now, in the same analogy, can you guys tell me what does an actuator in a human body can be?
Sir, our joints.
Joints come a bit generic because I'm giving a generic picture. What are the actuators?
Body parts, hands and legs.
Correct. What exactly? Your hand, legs, the speaking. I'm speaking out you to something, correct? That means I'm communicating with you. So my voice is nothing but, you know, uh, it's an actuator. It's a kind of actuator that we have. My hands is nothing but actuator. I do it for, I use it for typing. I use it for holding things, lifting up things, to move around, to commute around. So if you look, what we are trying to do is mimic the human body, and the way we are interacting with the nature, and trying to bring same intelligence in the, what do you say, device, in the things, or the uh, devices, or the objects that are non-living and are in, we are interacting with. Just a perspective. Okay, coming back to the topic. Now, how, let me know if I'm going too fast, guys. Okay, please pull me down. You can, guys can pull me back again. Okay, so let's come to the business part of it. uh okay, so business part. How do a business, when I say a business, like I would say, mainly, business is more focusing on providing some service, or an industry. How does the industry look at the IoT? So this is an evolution, the way, you know uh, IoT system grows, or the way it has been expanded, because anything which will earn money or which enhances your productivity is something what a business wants. The way it can be translated into profits, there is some enhancement in the service. Maybe the service can be in terms of your customer support, customer delightment. So how do we bring this up, and how is this IoT helping us to do that? So first stage, if you see over here, is business monitoring. So when I say business monitoring, it's more of monitoring the existing process. Anything that is happening that is quantifiable can be measured. So if you see, the measuring thing that is happening is nothing but uh, whatever we have is, whatever is measured can be quantified. Like, you have that, you can monitor that process. It can be simple input and output of a production, that raw material coming in and the product output coming out. How do we optimize it? Is using the just in time concept, or some similar strategies. For that to implement, that decision to do that, you're generating some data, you're generating some you're looking at some parameters, correct? You're then looking at some data which helps you take the data driven decision. So that is more on the monitoring part of it. So what you are doing is, okay, I'm monitoring, I'm controlling something. Okay, by monitoring, we're looking at the data. Then the next thing that comes up is the insights that goes into, like, what are the business insights? Okay, if I see that my production, it's more like an market or the stock market, you can see my production is high in this month, correct? So maybe it is because of the consuming capacity of this. So that is my business insight that comes in picture. Okay, then my business optimization, how do I optimize based on my learnings? Okay, so like, if there is a lag, if there is a bottleneck in a particular system or a particular production pipeline, that is where I go back and work together so that my end result or my effectiveness of the systems comes up. Once I've optimized the system, what are my learnings? Okay, you share those learnings across. Okay, how that learnings, how that optimization has translated into business is something that we speak on. And then we go to it actually changes the whole perspective of a business, right? From a simple, say, yeah, I will take the famous example of WhatsApp. If WhatsApp earlier, it was just an app, correct, for sending message across. But now it has grown to a level where we are actually concerned about data privacy and altogether a different product. Now, or say Facebook. Facebook was just a social media platform that we think earlier, but now we see it has been evolved to a next level where we can't even imagine how, why it was built at the first place. Like, the first version of the app and the latest version of that are totally two different things. So that is something that is coming in picture. Now, if you look at this scale down here, it gives you, like, you capture the data at the source, you do analytics, you create your models on of it, you create a data lake out of it. So these are more of a technical terms where you first capture the data, you do analytics, you see, okay, you see the trends. When I say business analytical models, you see how the trend of particular parameter is, you create a data lake of it. Then you create a platform of data and see how the data is going to be used, how it affects to each other, what is the interconnection of the data, how it is going to work with. And then data as a currency. So the future that we are getting into, the next world war also, it been said that it will be mainly because of the data, as it is going to be so it is the currency, correct? So next time, I think so, if you guys have noticed, WhatsApp is asking for the permission, the extra permission policy that have come. So before sending an yes to okay or no, just give it a thought what that data is going to do and how it is going to affect us. So that is where it is all heading towards. So this is just a perspective from a business end. Any questions so far? Hello.
Is it like to generate revenue for WhatsApp, the new terms that they are offering?
Won't go into that. That is not related to topic, but yes, it can be used for basic structure of IoT.
Yes.
Then what are smart devices? When do we call a device as a smart? That is important because the heart of IoT system is the smart devices. Okay, and there's a lot that goes in background. Okay, that is something that we are going to learn from these two case studies. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, so thanks. We'll proceed. Okay, how many of you know RO plant? Do you guys have any idea what is RO plant and why is it used for? Darshan, I see your photo. Anyone?
Purification of water.
Perfect. So basically, RO is used for reducing the TDS of the hardness of the water that we have. Okay, so it is generally used when you have the bore well, you're drawing water from, you have groundwater. Basically, its TDS or its TDS is high, which is harmful for our body. So we reduce the TDS by, for doing that we require this this RO plant. So these are like two different versions of the RO plant, but okay, I will come to this. Yeah. So if you see, there are different components in the system. Now this itself is a system. Okay, the two examples that we are going to discuss today, that is, one is on RO plant, another one is on AMFM. The basic difference between these two is RO plant has got an inbuilt iotization. Okay, whereas AMFM was a retrofit iotization, I would say, or a digitalization initiative. So that's the reason why I've taken these two projects. Okay, so for any system to work correct, if you can see, there are these membranes which are there. So what happens? So anything, before we start, we should have a basic idea that how things work around. So I'll just give a quick brief around. So this is your filter. Okay, there's a big filter, so that any impurities that is coming in will first pass through this. Once you clear that, you can see there is a small motor over here. If you guys can see, like this motor is there. So this motor is nothing but your low pressure pump. Okay, low pressure pump, what it does, it there are two filters. If you can see, there are these two filters. So this low motor pressure pump, uh, low pressure pump will push the water that has been filtered. So this is more of a big segmentation, and this is at a macron level. So all the impurities, before pushing it to the membrane to remove the TDS, needs to be removed. So one is for 20 microns, other one is for 10 or 5 microns. So all the impurities are been removed. Then it is given to the high pressure pump, and from high pressure pump it has been pushed in this membranes. Okay, so I will tell you an interesting story, like the business study behind this. What used to happen is, back in Tata Projects, in the utility services department where I was, uh, we used to provide this RO plants, okay, to the community, a village community. Okay, what used to happen is, and we used to say that, okay, we'll give, since we are the manufacturing of it, we will give you a 3 years or 5 years of warranty on that. Okay, now what used to happen is, you know uh, we used to get a call from the customer that, and this RO plant is like 1000 lph RO plant, which is for a village level. Okay, so it was used to deliver water, provide drinking water for a village or a group of village, depending upon the population. Now what is to happen is, for this we have to put, if you look, this is a manual control above. and there is some this blue box that has been updated afterwards. So what used to happen is we used to get a customer call saying that Sarji pump ude gaya. Okay, and the costly affair over here is this high pressure pump. Okay, and that is very strange. Like, why is always so maximum, maximum time whenever you used to get a complaint, that time the RO plant will be completely shut down. So you used to wonder like what is that is happening, and each time when we go, we see that, if you see this membrane, the membranes are choked up, because as these guys are like choked up, there is a very high pressure, back pressure, that was created on this pressure pump, which because of which this entire system used to shut down. Okay, so it's like whenever, last stage in ICU, whenever a patient or the plant is in ICU, that time we used to get a call stating that boss plant chal nahi raha. And whenever we used to go and ask them whether it was been working as we recommended, that time we used to say yes, हमने तो सब आपने जैसे बोला वैसे ही चला है. Still we face the same issue. Okay, to address this, this particular issue, we thought that okay, let's do one thing, let's automate this plant. Okay, so from the manual switch, okay, the manual controls that we have, like we used to manually switch on the pump, switch on the low pressure pump, then switch on the high pressure pump and get the water. Instead of doing that, we automated it to a next level. Okay, so currently entire plant was manual. Now from manual we shifted it to some automotive, some kind of automation where the tripping of motor was when taken care of. So whenever a pressure is to go high, it used to trip the motor. Okay, how does this help? This help us in reducing the number of incidents, not incidents, the severity of incidents, I would say, was reduced. But still we used to get the same, uh, you know same kind of calls. If you look at the call, all the complaints, if you look at the complaints in generic, most of them were occurring because of the high pressure pump failing, and the main cause of high pressure failing was the choking up of this, the membranes. Now what we decided that okay, let's do one thing, let's bring the smartness in this system. Okay, now when I say smartness, correct, now if you see, I already had a system. Okay, it was already having an automatic, or automotive panel, automatic panel fit in. Okay, but it was not having a place where it can send the data across. So now when I'm sending the data across, that is where the IoT come in picture. So when I was sending the data across, I used to see what is happening actually at the site, because just by looking at the logs, you can't say that logs are maintained, logbooks were maintained perfectly. Okay, if you go and look back at the logbook, अरे भाई सब तो सही दिख रहा है, फिर भी हमारा पंप क्यों जल गया? No one had that answer. But now I will. So any questions so far? Because this is important to go ahead and understand the system. So if you guys have any questions on the system, like how the RO plant work, is it clear to all before going ahead? Hello? Am I audible? Okay. Yeah. So let's go ahead. I saw some text coming at yes. So yeah, we'll go ahead with that. Now we'll see what we did. Okay. So a quick schematic of how the system is, the one which we discuss right now. If you see over here, there's a water tank, there's a low pressure pump, there are this big membranes which is used to filter everything that is coming in. It has been given to the high pressure pump, and then it was given into the membrane. Okay. Now, so this is something, a very crude way of looking at a system. Okay, crude way, no, won't called as a crude. It's a very nascent stage of a system where I can see what is happening. Okay, so it's a nascent stage of digital twin that we are planning to do. Okay, we'll come to that part at the end. I just got 15 minutes. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So we have a RO water plant. The problem statement that I just told you was, now what was happening when I introduced this IoT enabler panel, to say in that manner, whenever this was installed, now what is to happen is we created this kind of a portal, okay, where we can see on the map of India where all my assets are, where all my RO plants are. Okay, over here I can directly see which are those plants, like where the plants are, how much are the critical plants and all. But interesting parts is over here. Okay, I used to get data on a daily basis. Every 15 minutes or whichever frequency is set up, maybe 1 minute depending upon 1 minute, 15 minutes depending upon the operations. Okay, so I used to get a data that used to tell me that the input and output pressure of a wall. So there is a small wall. If you just go back, over here there was a wall. If you can see this wall over here. So this wall, if ideally, if the pressure is increasing because of the sedimentation, all you need to do is adjust this wall, okay, to reduce the pressure, back pressure that was being created on this pump. Because what you used to do is, whenever a plant is new, the membrane is like a new brand membrane. There is no that much of choking up, so water used to flow very easily through that membrane. But so the uh, there was no pressure, so this cock was like like half open. All we needed to do is adjust this clock so that the pressure on the membrane or the back pressure that was coming on this pump was reduced. So that is one of the use study how we actually now I don't have to ask or depend on a logbook to check how the plant was running. I can see how the plant was running. Okay, now instead of doing a uh, now I'm doing a call. Instead of getting a call, I'm becoming more proactive and calling to the customer saying that boss, आपका pressure जो है membrane पे कम ज्यादा हो रहा है. You need because over here you can see the pressure difference that is happening. All you need to do is adjust that so that your back pressure is not your pump, that is high pressure pump, which is the most costliest part of the RO plant, is not burned out. Okay, so that's how we bring if you go back just as monitoring, if you look, first we monitored the data, then we got the insights from it, and that's how the business was been optimized. Okay, and that in turn led to a cost optimization, because now a person before going knows that okay, he has to go and change the membrane, not the pump. Okay, and that's how the business got evolved. So this is something that I was planning to explain it to you. Okay, any questions so far? I think so. Hello. Okay, let's quickly go to the next step that we have. It's AMFM. Okay, so if you see over here, what we did was something changed inside the RO plant. The IoT enabling was done from the inside. We inherent the property of communication inside the RO plant. Okay, but that is not the case with all everywhere. Correct? You can't do it right away. So how do we make a device smart, or how do we enhance the process? Since Tata Projects being a construction company, let me go back and see if you can see any construction company that we have will have this assets, which are there are two kinds of assets. When I say asset, I mean truck, dumper, trailer, tractor, DG set, compressor. Okay, so at every site of Tata Projects, or say any construction site, you see a JCB, a tipper, dumper, trailer, tractor already present. Correct? Have you seen those? Hello. Hello, students.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you tell me, like we did it for RO plant, is it possible to put an altogether new hardware and change the working of it? Can we do that kind of automation? Is it possible? Yeah, at a manufacturer level, yes, it is possible. But for an end user or for a company like Tata Projects, does it make sense to go and do it? What are your thoughts? Suppose you have a construction company, your main business is about construction. You are using some assets to to carry out your work. You want to monitor them. Does that you know will it make any sense to actually go and put an altogether new hardware that is going to be present? The simple answer is that is not physically viable solution, because I don't know what is the function of JCB, what how is the critical is like. It will be like a more of a PSD product on a particular set of assets. So for a tipper, there will be some different altogether different combinations. Correct. For a DG set, there will be altogether different combinations. That's where you know uh, we decided to go with a retrofit model. Okay, to bring in connectivity. So what we did is, if you see, we connected this kind of it is we are calling it as a microcontroller over here, but in general terms it is called as a TCO, which is a telematic control unit on these devices. Okay, since it was retrofitted, what we used to get is a limited set of parameters. Now what does this is what does this device used to do was, it used to tell me when the engine is on, engine is off, what is the location. Okay, and whether it is where it is, whether it is working or not. So just by using these three properties, we develop all together a set. And if you see, the nature and the work of all these assets is different, but still, if you look at that, we were able to develop a platform where, sitting remotely, a person or a manager or a head of a particular business unit can use our software and see uh, and see where the asset is, how is it working, whether it is at a defined space or not, how okay, it's more of a track, trace, utilization, and safety. So this all these factors were brought into picture. So now when I open a platform currently, just imagine a guy who is sitting in Hyderabad wanted to look what is happening in his 50 sites across. Okay, the interesting study that came up is something that will touch base afterwards. So mainly it was being created to see the tractors that is happening. So I can track my assets where those are, how it has been utilized, how much it is utilized, whether it is underutilized or utilized. Okay, and as well as a safety factor was built in. Safety factor we will talk about now in the next couple of slides, as well as an. So once this all data was coming in, we carried out analytics over the top to give meaningful insights, which will help to take the data-driven decisions. Those were coming in picture. So this is on the analytical part of it. We'll quickly touch base on the analytics that we have. Okay, so now I can see, I can monitor. As I told you, I was just monitoring three parameters, which were whether the engine is on off, how much fuel it has, and where it is. So based on that and the combination of that with the time factor bringing in, okay, we could actually see how much is the like, how much I'm utilizing a particular asset, okay, by its make category, so aggregated at a vehicle make category. So I can slice and dice the data and see, okay, for me, whether this is working perfectly, okay, whether a particular asset is underutilized or overutilized. The interesting case that come up over here, as a result of this platform was, suppose we had like uh, two assets, two sites which are in proximity of 5 to 10 kilometers. What used to earlier happen is one DG is already available at, say, a site A. It is underutilized. It has not been utilized fully. Okay, and a site B which is in the proximity. Okay, we used to and needs a DG. What used to happen is these guys used to, the site B manager used to call to the corporate asking for a new DG or to arrange a new DG. Whereas if you see, the DG was been underutilized at site A. All I needed to do is, and what used to earlier happen before this portal, we used to issue a new DG to that particular B site. So you see, there is a resource optimization that came into picture over here. Whereas I can, all I needed to do was take the DG from site A, transfer it to site B, and I would save a lot of cost. So that is the power of analytics, guys. So whenever now you guys look at any data, you try to take a feel of it, how it is going to impact or improve or enhance the function that is going to the operation that is we are going to perform. Okay, coming back to the safety part of it, this is also interesting case study. So safety at a construction site is a major concern. Okay, we try to minimize the safety incidents now. But it's like a, earlier it was like a blindfolded thing. If I have to give a safety training to, say, truck drivers, how do you decide it? Any thoughts? Hello? Hello? Students, what do you feel? Like, I have to give a training. You are a product manager at a construction company, and a safety guy comes to you and say that, sir ji, आपको safety training देना है. Okay, so what used to generally happen is, I used to go pick up one site and say that यहाँ पे जितने भी truck driver है इन सबको training दे दो. But what was happening because of it is, we used to जिसको training देना है, the person who has to go for the training, I don't know whether that person is actually going for the training or not. Okay, and I used to end up giving training sessions which were not that productive. Okay, but when we introduced this monitoring system, we covered up 3 conditions based on which we develop a safety score for a particular, say, truck. Okay, so what are those 3 conditions? If you look at, first condition was the driver vehicle condition. How is the condition of that vehicle? So there was a simple checklist for that, whether it has seat belt, mirror, rollover bar, reverse bar, buzzer, start buzzer. Is it available on that particular vehicle? How is the condition of that vehicle or the truck that we are talking in? Now, then that was already being captured. We also had a matrix which were driver specific. Okay, was the driver healthy at that time? How was his, uh, was he drunk when he entered the project? He is not supposed to be drunk, correct? Has he given the safety training earlier? So this checklist was also present. Okay, if you look at this two, driver matrix and vehicle condition matrix, this is something measurable currently available. But what is that I have to bring in over here was the driver skill matrix. I know a driver is there, but I don't know how are his driving skills. That is more important for me to pinpoint whom should I give the training session. If the driving skills are less, or not up to the mark, ideally I should catch up that driver and give him the training sessions, correct? So to go there, now again, you can just break your heads and think, give it the thought, how do you define a driving skills? So to define driving skills, there are majorly used to monitor the 6 parameters, which are like harsh acceleration, braking, cornering, overspeeding, excess idling, and RPM. Based on that, okay, based on the number of incidents, he has harsh accelerator, कर brake दाब रहा है, ठीक है, he is doing a sharp cornering, sharp turn, okay, is he overspeeding than the limit? A truck is not supposed to, or fully loaded truck is not supposed to go more than 40 kilometers of speed, but he is driving at say 80, 60. That is much more dangerous, correct? So based on this, we used to now taking in this account along with this existing matrix. Now we used to get a driver score. Looking at the trend, I would say, okay, this driver is the one who needs to be given training, or the driver in this particular shift needs to be given training. So, okay, so this is how the system was building. Okay, any doubts, any questions so far, students, or am I going too fast? Hello. Hello. Siddhant, you can speak up, unmute yourself. It's become a monotonous. I'm speaking for last 15 to 20 minutes, not used to do that. Any questions? Come on, guys.
Sir.
Either you, yeah, Tanmay.
Sir, actually, I have a question, but not something that is not related directly to this, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Not in this domain, like not about this topic.
Okay.
So I'll ask it in the end only.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, so we are jumping to the last part of it, which is digital twin. I wanted to give a brief introduction because if you look at, I will take this side first. If you look earlier, we had embedded systems. So how many of you have done the embedded system course? I believe most of you have, or not. A final year guy generally tends to go over this embedded system course. So what do you, if you see, uh, embedded system courses at the center. If you go back, a bit from embedded is more like, if I have to look at, is more on the instrumentation part of it. Okay, how do you connect a sensor, how do you connect a PLC and collect the data out of it? How do you share the data over the cloud? How do you analyze it is nothing but IoT part of it. When we go on a broader end, on the on a bigger picture, that is nothing but a cyber physical system. CPS is nothing but a cyber physical system. So it is a combination of different IoT things. So say now you have a TV, you have refrigerator, correct, in a house. Now if you put all house automation at one place, when you go to at a city level, like we discuss about smart city or smart street lights, when we go to the level over there, that is nothing but a cyber physical system. So right from embedded system we are good. So embedded system, a group of sensor, microprocessor and actuator come together in embedded system. When we add a connectivity to it, it went to an IoT system. When we come on a bigger picture, when different IoT system come together, it formed a cyber physical system. I hope we are clear on that part. Coming back to a digital.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So why do we use the term cyber?
Okay, cyber physical system. Interesting. Cyber physical. Okay, the limitations of IoT. I didn't cover it in presentation, but if you see, I gave you an analogy of our brain. Correct. Now, in what happens in cyber physical system is what I'm telling you. So, in IoT, you have a specific set of action. Say, if the temperature is increased on my AC, Okay, there's a specific set of command. Your algorithm is fixed in a specific manner. It is, it is bound to behave in the same manner. Okay, that is how the IoT devices are built in. But when we talk about cyber physical system, it's more of, okay. Who asked that question? Tanmay?
Sir, myself.
Okay, Tanmay. So, Tanmay, you know to drive bicycle. Which bike you have, or do you drive a bike, car, anything?
Sir, I have a bicycle and I drive a car also, or a two-wheeler
Correct.
also. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you have a car. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Tell me, what does so I believe you must have gone to a driving school, or you must have learned something, correct, to
Yeah.
drive.
From parents, sir. From parents.
Correct. So when your father was teaching you to drive at that time, did he teach you how to respond on the emergencies that is going to come in on the road while driving?
Not exactly, sir. Not exactly.
Of
Like
Yes, all he taught was how to you know
the basic
re-
principle, like the
basic
standard
principle.
way.
Correct, how to drive a vehicle. He
Yeah.
gave you a set of, say that okay, you are not supposed to drive, you're not supposed to drive from the right lane at a very low speed. Ideally you should stop at the signal. So those are the general set of commands, those were given to you, correct,
Yeah.
along
Yeah.
with how to drive. So like accelerator, you don't have to press release sudden clutch, you don't have to disengage sudden clutch, or else you will get a jerk.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he didn't teach you how to uh, handle a roadside incident that is going to occur, or the live demo. It can't be imagined, or it can't be portrayed how what is going to come in the live picture, correct, in a real
Okay.
world.
Okay.
So what you did, you change your computing whenever that particular situation came in front of you. The way the situation came to you, you change your thought process.
Okay. Okay. So, sir,
Correct.
are
That
you are
is
you saying that like cyber physical systems are versatile, unlike IoT?
perfect. Bang on. Just I will add to what you are saying. It's currently till IoT section, more of you are not changing your computation.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
When you go into when you step out from that domain, when you come to a cyber physical system, that time, based on the you're interacting with the environment, based on the best example of a cyber physical system is your autonomous vehicles. Okay, the Tesla car that is coming, it don't know what is going to come up, the kind of situation it is going to come up, but the computation should adapt to the way the things are around it. So that is where the cyber word comes into picture. So you have cyber, which is also going to change. Okay, the physical system is something that we are planning to change. So based no so one flow is very easy because we are very used to that okay, I get a sensing, I sense something, I processed it, and this is the expected output. This is very easy to understand. But based on the input that I'm receiving, uh, I should be able to take the corrective actions or change my computation, is something that we are trying to build in this cyber physical system.
So like if we were to consider natural language processing, which is what is used in Google Assistant or Siri or Alexa, for example. So we can't write a set like a fixed code amount of code which can help us do that. Like we can't explicitly write instructions to for
Exactly.
something like natural language processing where we
You don't do that. You
yeah,
use deep learning and
yeah,
mesh
neural
to
networks.
train your network. So that is how the computing is
Yeah,
increasing.
so because we can't explicitly write an algorithm for that, so in cyber physical systems is it like the same thing? So we need artificial intelligence for that. We can't just use natural, like a fixed set of rules for that.
Correct. That is exactly what I was trying to pinpoint of view. But not only just machine learning or AI that is coming in picture, but it is like in a complementary, uh, going together in hand is what I'm trying to predict. So now you have to change the way you're computing with the physical conditions that are coming to the picture. Okay. Coming back to a stage a little back from cyber physical system is the digital twin. Okay, a very interesting subject. I'm just just touch basing this topic and then we'll stop. We'll take questions. Okay, digital twin system is nothing but how we do it. It's a very good picture, image that I found online, which says that first you collect the data. So this is a real robot. You create a replica of it. Okay. This system, basically, this word digital twin was first introduced by GE, General Electrics, for monitoring their engine, the aircraft engine that those have. They have introduced this. So what do they do is, if you see there is a physical model of this, they used to convert that into a simulated model. This is also a very interesting field where you can actually mimic how it is going to behave in the real world. Okay, so how do they do that? Okay, first they have collected data, they save the data, they transmit this data to the cloud, where you know they work with the parameters, they save the results. You create a model out of it and evaluate like how the systems are. If you see this comes over here, you know evaluate and analyze the data that is coming in, then you monitor what are the important parameters that is coming in, you develop a model out of it, you put that model and check how that model is behaving in the real world. Is it behaving the way we want? So it's more of a creating a simulation or a digital replica of the system that is going to come in. Okay, it's not only just at a sensor level, but a digital twin is been widely used at factory automation, right from you know uh, how it has been delivered. So biggest and the good case study about factory optimization is your Amazon. Right from a order is been booked, how everything is been managed, how it has been looked is when you put it on a sketchboard or a 3D model like this, you can see how the different how it's more of a digital twin. Like, okay, this is how the actual system is behaving versus how it is. Okay, I will wind up saying that the thoughts, and I'm open for the questions.
Sir, a question about digital twin. So, if we have to train a machine learning model with a lot of examples first, right, to improve accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
So, similarly for a digital twin model, so first we observe how the actual model is behaving in the real world, and then we train the digital model with examples. Is it how that process works?
That is one way of doing that. So what we generally do was, it's a constant learn and grow kind of a process where uh, you provide same set of data, okay, to your actual model and the the black box algorithm that we have, or the model that you have, the ML model or the deep neural network model that you have. You provide the same set of data and check whether you are getting the same expected output. If it is not the same, what you do is you see what is the variation and you again feedback that in as your input, and you train the data until and unless you get the same results. So down the line, like you gave the example of the AI or the the voice. Now if you just go back earlier, we don't used to get that much accuracy on what we are saying. The text to speech was not that strong, but now if you see, it's way too versatile and it's way too strong. Even in the languages, like even in the regional languages, now we can translate it very accurately. And the more we use it, more the algorithm is going to train itself, and it's more going to be strong at it in delivering what we have or what we are expecting. I hope I answer the question you're looking for.
Uh,
And you can find these libraries on TensorFlow. uh, so yeah, feel free to explore that. Those are like open source projects where you can actually go and do that.
Okay, sir. And is it also like you just mentioned? So, like if it's an electronics experiment, so we are calculating the required current, for example, with some given formula, and then we take a multimeter and measure it, and we get a different value, which is not the theoretical value that is expected. So it's slightly different. So, like the digital twin and the real life model, that is the physical it's not abstract, the real model. So we observe the differences and then we use it accordingly, like that.
Yes, so that error you feedback again into the system.
So okay, yes, sir.
The error that you are getting, okay, you feed that back again in the system. So the you have those weights, correct? So you update your weight of each neural, which is done automatically. You don't have to actually go and do that. You just feed in, you create a feed, hardware in loop system or a software in loop system, where that data, the error that has been captured, is again fed as an input to your system, and then you train your model. So that's where the training times come in picture. So any MI model or any AI model, first you have to train it first, and then you deploy it, and it's ongoing training. So more you use, the more effective way it comes up. Same like your chat box or the auto chat part. Same as, the best example of this is Netflix. The more movies you watch, it will recommend you the kind of movies that you like. The recommendation system that we talk
Okay,
about.
okay, sir.
It is,
Yeah.
it is on the same matrix.
Okay, sir. And sir, one more question I wanted to ask is in Industry 4.0, one of like digital twin, which you mentioned, was one of the components or maybe one of the important factors involved in Industry 4.0. So similarly, there was one more factor called convergence of information technology and operational technology. So if you could uh, give us a brief about what that means.
Uh, okay. So what does it say on a big nutshell is, see, we are generating a lot of data right now. Okay, and to maintain this data, you have to share the data somewhere. Correct. You can't just, so you require basically an IT infrastructure to maintain this. So these are big topics, dear. So you require a different set of uh, skill sets, I would say. I'm not an expert on that, but and altogether in different IT system to maintain your servers. Correct. So that is something that is currently been lifted by the Azure and Amazon platform. So what
Sir,
these
but
guys do is that,
Sir, but
sorry.
sorry, sir, sorry to interrupt you, but what is the meaning of like the convergence, the word convergence, like of IT and OT?
I would have to get back to you on that. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, no problem, sir. Yeah.
I'm not an expert on the IT part of it, but yeah, so I can give you a brief idea that what is happening over there, basically. So earlier you used to have this server in each and every company. Now you don't do that, correct? You have Azure and
Amazon Web
you know,
Services.
Amazon Web Services take care of your hosting. So basically, what these guys do is, this has a big server, in Bangalore, Mumbai, and France, where they, Singapore also, where they keep the data, which basically shares the data. You can ramp up your RAM, and you can use their infrastructure. Basically, maintaining infrastructure has been taken care by those guys. So these are different models, the way the IT is affected. So that is the conversion, I think, is what you're looking at. So each word, say, just look at data analytics or predictive modeling or ML or sensor level embedded system. So each one of this topic is itself a big, we can talk for hours on that. A lot of research has been done and going in to do what is there.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Then anyone else? There are 53 guys now. the call? Hello? Any doubts? I know this was a rapid fire section for you. So what I just told you was somewhere around my 3.5 years of work that I have done. Okay, then Yogendra, should we wind up?
Sure, sir, no issues. Mostly, I think all the questions have been answered by you. All the students have asked the questions, and it is.
Okay. You can feel free to write down the questions. I will over the weekend or something. I can get back to you with the questions that you, if there are any.
Okay, sir. Yes. Thank you very much for
Okay.
the thing. So thank you very much for delivering such a session, because it was altogether a new idea for all of us. We have IoT in the last year this semester, and our final year students are also there in this meeting. So it would be very helpful for them. And even for the rest of the years, it was a introductory sessions as to where they can work on in the recent years to come. So that was a good thing that from this webinar point of view that they have got. So thank you very much, sir, for this session,
Thank you.
and hope we continue with this topic and all in the recent days to come as well. We would be in contact with you, sir, so that we would be guided by you. We'll request you to guide us in the recent run as well.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks a lot, students, for listening and bearing me for throughout the session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Students are requested to join that AICTE session which has been posted on the groups. So all are requested to join that session immediately after this. Thank you all. You can leave this meeting.